Happy Christmas, Sue.
Thanks.
Hey, are you one of the 1 in 5 Australians who suffer from pain in the gut, especially around Christmas time, and you think it might be gluten intolerance? We looked at that a couple of weeks ago, but instead it could be FODMAPs. Now explain FODMAPs. Sue, this is why you're here.
That's right. FODMAPs is just an acronym. It stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides and polyols. And these are basically indigestible carbohydrates that are especially poorly tolerated by people with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and thereby producing symptoms.
That's because in a good body they ferment in the gut.
Well, they actually ferment in everyone's gut.
Yes.
But the problem is if you've got IBS, you tend to get a lot more fermentation, excessive amounts of wind.
Yes.
For example, it's formed, which can distend your tummy area and make you feel very uncomfortable.
Now, 1 in 5 Australians, and we're coming close to Christmas, tell us about FODMAPs versus gluten.
So FODMAPs can be found in the same foods as gluten. So FODMAPs are the carbohydrate part, gluten is actually the protein part. So often people confuse the two and think they're intolerant to gluten, but in fact it's far more common that they've got a problem in tolerating FODMAPs or certain amounts of FODMAPs than gluten. In fact, only 1% of the population has celiac disease, and they absolutely must exclude gluten for life. But people with intolerance to FODMAPs, they're much more common, and for them it's not a matter of excluding FODMAPs completely, but it's about going on a low FODMAPs diet, which we use as an investigative tool to work out which FODMAPs they're intolerant to.
Now, this is recent research at Monash in particular.
Monash University has pioneered this area in the world, and this is the best treatment any doctor can offer now, to recommend you to visit an accredited practicing dietitian who's got experience in FODMAPs to work out what's troubling you. So the way it works is this. When someone comes to sees us with IBS, having had celiac disease and other things excluded, so we know they don't have to be on a strict gluten-free diet.
Can you explain who excludes it? What do you do to find out if you have celiac disease?
Well, you should go to your doctor, and you might even be referred to a gastroenterologist. Right. It's important that they exclude more serious diseases such as celiac disease before we start tampering with things like FODMAPs. And then we put somebody on the low FODMAPs diet. So if you have a look at these foods here, they all look really healthy, but these foods here have more natural FODMAPs in them. These foods here have a lower content of FODMAPs. So you can't sort of try and do this by yourself. You really need to
go and see a nutritionist. Or
you need to, and you need to look at data from foods that have been analysed. To someone who's experienced in the area, if we exclude FODMAPs or get them as low as possible in your diet, and you improve, and they found that about 75% of people significantly improve with their symptoms if they go on a low FODMAPs diet. The next thing is not to stay on FODMAPs forever. It could be very harmful.
That's what you do.
That's what you would think, and many people, download sheets from the internet and do this for life. This could be more, more harmful than good. What we then do is challenge them by reintroducing different families of FODMAPs to test them, to see which is a trigger for them. Once we work out which FODMAP is the problem, then we can work out at what level of that FODMAP that they can sort of tolerate. And it's really important that long-term we reintroduce back important FODMAP foods like onions, like legumes, because these FODMAPs actually have what we call a prebiotic effect, meaning they are food substrates for the good gut bacteria to grow on. So you cannot be on low FODMAPs. You should not be on low FODMAPs for life. It's an investigative tool that can help many, many people. You need to do it with a health professional so we can work out what bothers you, and then we can add back a tolerated level of FODMAPs to keep your gut healthy. And the rest of you healthy as well, because everything stems from the gut. 80% of your immunity is found in the gut.
So folks, there you have it. At Christmas time, if you're suffering the symptoms of IBS, don't assume it's gluten intolerance. You may need to go and get a diagnosis from a doctor, but then go and see a nutritionist like Sue Rad. They could visit www.surad.com, because life's more about eating mangoes at Christmas. Isn't it, Sue?
Absolutely. Enjoying all these healthy foods, but excluding things at levels that could be triggers for excessive symptoms, gut symptoms.
So, happy Christmas, Sue.
Thanks.
And happy Christmas, folks. We'll see you next year.